Hello, my name is Frances Fox, and I'm an author and a consultant. I'm a trained remote viewer. I also have training and experience in interspecies communication, which means that I can basically talk to anything because, according to this new group of scientists, it's called panpsychism, and it's scientists. And they say that everything has consciousness, and it does. I could talk to a wall, and it can give me information about you. Or I can talk to your shoe. It's interesting to have this kind of a background and be in the business world. It's also, I believe, going to be very quickly very lucrative as soon as I get out from my self imposed house arrest. Let me say that being in what in astrology they would call hermit mode, which is what I've been since I moved into this apartment in August, is very, very, very good for the development of the mind. I'm not sure how many of you know that I was in Tibet when I was around 10 years old. I say it was 6 months, a year. I don't really know. Anyway, incredible experiences, mostly traumatic. The cold, I have still not recuperated from. The how cold I was for so long. Um, it reached a point to where I created. We humans are really interesting. We can do incredible things. What I did was I erased same way I erased my memory of being with such powerful people and all these god awful things. I erased my memory of cold, of the sensation of cold. So how do I know that? When years ago, when I was traveling to New York, I had a buyer, a very nice lady. I'm still good friends with her. And she noticed that when I went on my trips to New York, I never brought the proper clothing for winter. So she used to call my home and speak to my husband and say, check her bag, my suitcase, make sure she has winter clothes in there. And I would go, I don't need them. I'm fine. And then be getting off the plane in New York where you have to go through that tunnel. And I go, oh my God, it's cold. I had to feel the cold to remember the cold. Human mind, very interesting. And I don't want to get caught up and drowned in all the political stuff that's going on, which I think is very important because I think that we are getting on track. And it is through politics that we're getting on track. Unfortunately, the people that perhaps should have been in charge of letting us know this particular time, which would have been our spiritual leaders, not, not, nowhere to be found. That could be that they're not flexible enough. They learned something having to do with whatever it is that they teach, and they didn't have the flexibility to be able to take us into a new age in which the rules are all different. Whatever. So I'm going to start deviating out of politics and into what's really important, which is where reality is created and all the rest of that. So let's go into an important law from the other dimensions, which is the law of attraction. The law of attraction is the law of magnetic resonance. If things have the same frequency and resonance, they'll come together. And if they don't, like magnets, you can try to keep them and they'll repel each other. Um, okay, that's great. What does that mean? You're going to draw to you what you have inside of you. And I really did not read the book The Law of Attraction. I know it changed the world. They were very right, I'm sure, in practically everything they said, but people were left with the impression that if you desired something, wanted something, and did a piece of art with a check for $1 million, put it on your wall, that's the way you would get what it is that you want. If it's that $1 million, fine. Here's the problem. That's an outside image which you're superimposing on your mind, which is good, but you're superimposing it on top of whatever issues you have that would block you from getting that $1 million, such as the fact that between 14 and 17 years of age, your father went bankrupt, lost the family home, had to move in with the grandparents, had to change schools. So for whatever reason, human beings, we have all this programming, and one of them is that whatever happened financially that you lived through as a child between 14 and 17 is a huge factor in your ability to be prosperous. So you got that little art on your wall, the $1 million check, but your father went bankrupt when you were 14, 15 years old. That's inside of you draws to you the same thing, not the $1 million check. Law of attraction. It overrides the law of intention. It didn't until like 10 years ago. Until 10 years ago, the most important law was your intention. Not anymore. It's the law of attraction. So I have emphasized with the group that follow me in my process of discovering all this stuff and applying these big deal things, but to simple life, your home life, your children, your own bank account, your future, what you want. And I have encouraged everybody, myself included, to spend all this time on purifying what's inside of us so that what we intend we can get. And lately, I was not lately, but like a year ago, I was thinking, I'm a Cancer. We can be very negative. Maybe, maybe we shouldn't be spending that much time looking for what's not great inside of us, not to criticize it, but to find it and to whew, mantra it out. But as things have gotten to critical mass, which is where we're at now, I realized that we were on the right path. You have to purify what is not going to let you get your intentions. And that is something that's inside of you that you may not even remember. So it's really, really, really important. Today, let's go to the law of attraction. We're going to get into politics a little bit. What can I tell you? Ah, but this is just too interesting. Last night, I said that I was going to sketch all of Latin America and Central America, and I did. Found something very interesting in El Salvador, which is where they have that prison for all those criminals, that murderous types that Trump is sending over there. That prison. I didn't know where it was. And when I'm doing sketching and remote viewing, I'm not thinking. So I did all 20 countries. Maybe I left a couple out. And I was just in a and I was in a bad mood, as you know, yesterday, and I'm sketching. So I get to El Salvador, and this is what I sketched. Now, those black lines are an instability at the level of Earth, which could mean potential earthquakes. Okay. But then I sketched this red thing here, which is a congestion of the fire element. Okay. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, guess what's right there? Right underneath that congestion, first place, there's a volcano there. Fire is where the prison is. That these criminals that have too much fire, you cannot kill people unless you have too much fire. You cannot fight unless you have too much fire. Obviously, they have too much fire. We don't even need to look into it. So you have all these people with too much fire, and coincidentally, the prison is in a place where there is volcanic activity, which is fire that's active. Okay, I'm not sure that the volcano that's close to there is active at this point, but law of attraction. The same way there's behavior and things that you wouldn't do if you walk inside a church, it's just not appropriate. It's also the law of attraction. You go inside a church, and what is going to get pulled out of you, because it has a magnetic resonance with all the people praying and wanting to be positive and wanting to have faith and believing in God and turning over their destiny to God and all the rest of that. When you go into the church, if you're argumentative, chances are when you get in there, what's going to come out of you is not going to be the argumentative part of you. It's going to be a part of you that's underneath that, which would be grief. So I was not thinking when I did that sketch, but that is an example of the law of attraction. But let me go a little bit further back. I guess it was last week when the woman, I forgot her name, the head of Homeland Security, I like her. Um, she went to the prison and they took photographs. But before she got there, I was hysterical. I swear that if I knew Trump personally, I would have called him on the phone and said, please don't send her there. Please do not send her there. I could see like an explosion. And of course, she went and nothing happened. And I went, okay, so what was that all about? And then next, I didn't think about it again until I sketched El Salvador. I believe that there is going to be an event. What is going to be the event? I don't know. You have a prison full of people that have nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. So is it going to be a riot and everybody's going to get burned? Or is there going to be a volcanic explosion? I don't know. But there's something bubbling beneath the surface. That could be the volcano. So I would be watching that. And I would also, if I was running the government, I would go to myself, okay, so let's say there's a volcano and all these guys get fried by the volcano. What do I say when people said if you hadn't sent them there, they wouldn't be dead? What would I say there? Obviously it would be like an act of God, but there's something going on there. And it's not like there's something going on there that could create a crisis. There's going to be a that I'm going to let it go at that. Remember, the future's elastic and plastic. I'm telling you my sensations, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and nothing could happen. This is good. This is not to say she was wrong. No, I wasn't wrong. I tell you what I'm feeling. I'm telling you what I found out in terms of the map, in terms of volcanoes and sensations, psychic information of this tremendous fear for this woman, and also what would happen there. And then you take it from there, you put it away, and then if something happens, we go, ah, law of attraction. Maybe that's too much fire to put near a volcano. Remember the earthquake in New York City 6 weeks after 9/11 was due to Mother Earth absorbing the excess fire of New Yorkers who went, rather than going into rage at what had happened to them with the buildings going down, they went into compassion and into helping. What happened with that fire? Their reaction to fire. Mother Earth absorbed it. Here I am looking for my Kleenex because it's time. I must be talking about important things. But anyway, so I don't know. I think, and I'm not saying that they should move the prisoners. I'm just giving information. Okay, I'm not making decisions. Law of attraction. What is in your personal history that you need to go back to because it's going to repeat? Because that's just the way it is. I trying to remember what it is that happened the other day, and I was like, okay, why am I even asking the question? This is a pattern I have. What's happening to me now, this isolation, this is a pattern. I was continuously separated from my family. When I was in Tibet, they put me in a cave. There we go. They put me in a cave, the monks, not the Bon Master, to develop my mind. Oh my God, how could they do that to you? Law of intention. They understood without me needing to say it, because I sure was not in contact with that at that point, that I needed to develop my mind. My mind needed to be strong. It was part of my mission. And some of the most developed minds in the history of the planet have spent time in caves. You can have a hard time finding a really heavy duty philosopher or whatever that grew up and lives and is doing his stuff in a city. There's just too many frequencies going on. It doesn't allow you to go inside to develop. So, anyway, I stayed in the cave 2 weeks, 2 months. I have no way of knowing, because once you're there and it's dark, you do not see anybody. And the food would come down on a rope, on some kind of whatever with a rope. I never saw a person. I think I knew that it was an old lady that was up there. I can't really say, but you don't see anybody. So after a period of hysteria, I finally relaxed and went, okay, okay, I'm here. So, okay, well, at least nobody's gonna sexually abuse me or torture me. There's nobody here. It's just me. And that certainly anchored a pattern of isolation, which is repeated through my life. And I am here again now. That pattern of isolation actually started, I would say, in 97, but it was like more a social isolation. That was because my handlers, and I'm assuming my control. By the way, I'm not sure that people have controls anymore. I think that when my control died, there was a change, and they determined that it was better to have like a group of people, I'm assuming in Washington, that would make decisions for all of us robots. But there had to have been a lot of us. So I'm not sure. Anyway, so after he passed, for several years, I was kind of free. That's when I started on TV. Everything's fine. And then, like in 97, everything got shut down. It's only looking back now that I can see that. I got increasingly isolated from society. And then that got almost 100% 2 or 3 years ago. So, not good to be isolated. Pattern to repeat. I need to deprogram that pattern because that's not where I want to be from here on out. But I learned so much. I would have never been able to do all of this if I hadn't had all that time in isolation by myself, recycling, hitting up against myself every step of the way. So, patterns repeat. Your prosperity, the patterns will repeat, particularly between 14 and 17 years of age. What happened, what you lived through. Obviously, you probably didn't run a business, but you did have to live through your father's failure or maybe your mother's failure. We're talking prosperity. There's different ages for different things that apparently are set in concrete. Like when you're 14, between 13 and 14 in the Jewish religion, they take care of the children between 13 and 14, I believe it is, very carefully, and they're training them and teaching them, and they're on top of them for everything. It turns out that at age, whatever happens to all of us, you don't have to be Jewish, between 13 and 14 gets concreted into your mind because it gets concreted into your astral emotional body, which is your spirit. So if you have a tragedy between 13 and 14, or your circumstances change incredibly, that trauma is going to dominate you for the rest of your life. Because at 14, your astral spirit, and I'll put it on camera, your astral spirit, the gold body, which is magnetic, that body finishes forming. Whatever is going on with it is concreted in. It sets a pattern. So you can have something god awful happen at 14 and it will control you the rest of your life until you clear it, which is not easy. But you can have something worse happen when you're 12 or 16 and it won't have as much of an influence. Because at those 2 points, the astral body is more fluid. It's not set in concrete. That's an important piece of information to know when you have a child. You're not Jewish, you have a child, they have a traumatic incident between 13 and 14. You really need to make sure that that is purified from inside of them. I'm not talking just talking to a psychologist because that doesn't go to the deepest levels. I know it sounds like I'm very down on psychologists. I have to tell you, from the first month I started working in with psychologists, maybe 92, when I started to do my memory work, and Washington allowed me to go through a process of remembering and blah, 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 I was shocked with the psychologists. And I said to them, because at that point I was working with 3 different types of psychologists. Okay. One who specialized in victims of prisoners of war and victims of torture. The other one was a specialist in sex abuse. And then the first person was like a regular psychologist that said, listen, this is beyond my whatever. Anyway, the point of the matter is that age 13 to 14, you need to pay attention to the children and you need to address it and not later. You need to, because if you address it at 14 and a half, you didn't take care of it. You need to go when it's happening right now. You need to go at it. Mantras is the most effective thing. Okay? The most effective. Talking, you need to do that. But talking does not reach the deeper areas where it is that you hold your traumas. Okay. I may be a little bit closer to figuring out what it is that we can do. What's the opposite of detonate? To shut down those mysterious energies that has most of us frightened about AI. First place, people like me can put our spirit any place. I don't do this because it is not ethical, though I'm going to say the story very, because I didn't know at that point. I had somebody who was very sick, and they said to me, I'm really sick, but I can't stop working. I don't have enough money. No, no, no. I felt bad. This was in the 90s when I still was allowed to think. And I said, you know what? I think maybe I can help you. I think maybe I can get like inside of you and give you a little bit of extra energy so that you can continue to work. She said, how are you going to do that? I said, I have no idea. I did it. And she got back to me weeks later and she said, you know, the doctor I'm going to is shocked that I stayed on my feet. She says, this is not possible. You should have been hospitalized. Apparently, I got inside of her. Remember, your spirit body can multiply itself. The Mayans call that subpersonality, and they used to call it multiple personality, except everybody has it. Everybody has subpersonalities and cuts in their personality to where they have separate personalities. But we don't call them multiple personalities, and that's not a word that's used in psychology anymore. Anyway, so the next time that happened is I had a client who had a person in their family that was missing. And so anyway, I helped to find them, whatever. And they said, but what's going on? I said, there's a really bad spirit that's after your loved one. And so they're like all over the place. I don't know what's going to happen here because this is like a really bad spirit that wants to come in and possess this person. And they said, well, what can you do? And I said, I don't know. Let me try and figure it out. And that's the second time that I did that. I went inside this person, and that bad spirit was not able to come in. And then when it was over, I think that I left. This was decades ago. And the family was very happy with me. It wasn't until later that I realized I don't think I'm supposed to do that. Whatever it is that they're supposed to go through, they need to go through. And that's not ethical, which is why when somebody does great channeling, like Jesus Christ or the Virgin Mary or Archangel Gabriel comes into them and then their face changes and then they talk, that's not ethical. It's not good for the person that's doing the channeling. It's not good for them. And I can tell you that Jesus Christ, the Virgin Mary, and St. Michael know the ethics and they're not inside that person. It's a spirit acting like them, the shape shifting thing. So, what does this have to do with AI? The other day, and we're going to do it now, I'm going to remember, I want to teach you about your superpowers. I want you to access them the way I had to access them via torture, rape, and blackmail, the whole 9 yards, except this is going to be more gentle, even though a lot of people say I can be very tough. What can I tell you? Got to have some defects. Remember, I told you that Jesus Christ on the cross left us a lot of messages. There was a lance next to him and it pierced his liver. Oh, okay. So what's that got to do with anything? It has a lot to do with it. Why did it pierce his liver? Everything is a message. Everything is a message. It pierced his liver because the liver is very interesting. If you ask somebody, where is love in people? They'll go, oh, the heart, blah, blah, blah. And then go ahead and ask them where evil is in people. And they'll look at you and they'll go, I don't know. It's because evil does not originate inside of human beings. It's an outside transference of energy. It's an outside force. And it comes in, I'm going to use the word mainly because I don't think it's the entire thing, through the back of the liver, a conduit, a matrix like conduit that goes into the back of everyone's liver. It's a program. And that conduit extends all the way to Orion, which is the planet that supposedly ends up taking down planet Earth. Future's elastic and plastic. You want to get it crazy? Crazy? I was at a party once with a very interesting woman, and I didn't really know. And I looked at her and I said, you came from the future in Orion. You're from Orion and from the future." And she looked at me and she said, "Yeah, I've been told that before." And I was like, I didn't even know what I was saying. And it took me several years before I kind of figured it out. Whatever. So anyway, so I have told you, you get outside of yourself, your spirit. You're looking at your physical body that's facing this way. Here's your liver. First, you put a piece, and do it, everybody. You put a piece of ice inside your liver, back wall. You need to cool down your liver. And then you just visualize. Most of you will not see it yet. There's a tube, like Matrix, that's inserted into the back of your liver. And it goes all the way to Orion. And what's coming in through there is evil. And it makes sense because liver is the organ that gets hot, whatever. We don't need to go into all that. So now go ahead. There's the tube. We're not going to just cut it. You have to wrap something around it. Okay? Like in surgery, they would use these clips, and then when they need to cut a vein or something and they don't want all the stuff to spill. In this case, you don't have to do that. You can get in your head, you can get a piece of paper, not paper, fabric or something, a Band-Aid, but heavy duty, and you wrap it around a distance away from your body. You wrap it to where it's held there. And then you call in St. Michael. You don't have to do a whole prayer. Just, "Hey, St. Michael, can you help me out?" He knows exactly what he needs to do. He cuts it, and you're now disconnected from evil. And then a couple of other guys show up. Spiritual mafia. I call them spiritual mafia. They're very good. They're not really spiritual. They're squad. What they call it? Our SWAT team. Spiritual SWAT team. They come in, take this part away that goes to Orion, and then they go to the back of your liver with a drill for screws, except what they're doing is they're pulling out a screw that's like this long, which is what keeps that matrix thing into you. And you did it. Now, they're going to come back and they're going to reinsert it within 3 minutes, 20 minutes, 3 days, 20 days. I have no idea. It has to do with the law of attraction. How much rage is in your liver? Because if there's a lot, it's very easy for them to come back. If you've cooled down your liver, whatever. So anyway, so we've been doing that for a long time, and you should do that every day. And if you see somebody in your family that's kind of too much fire, first place, don't sleep with a cell phone. Da, 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 da. Anyway, but I've been asking the dolphins, the thing with the AI, nobody's going to be able to stop it. We all know that. We know there's something going on there. And I already did a reading. Every single thing having to do with artificial intelligence is connected to Orion by tubes. And what comes in is not necessarily even a liquid like a nectar. It could be just simply spirits, but not good ones. They don't have good intentions. And I will take a minute now to tell the story of the statue that I got, that the Museum of Science in Miami said that it was from a burial in Peru that was over 2,000 years old. Wooden statue, looked very malevolent. And I read the statue energetically, and it had a spirit attached to it. It had the astral spirit body of a warrior that was murdered, and the spirit was attached to the statue. I'll bring the statue in the next couple of days for you to look at it. I have it downstairs. The spirit of this soldier was attached to the statue, and the statue was buried with the important person who died so that the spirit would take care of the person in the afterlife. You're going to be learning a lot about the afterlife because we're now mixing with the underworld and the afterlife. I'll talk about that in a second. And I need to talk fast because I've talked more than I thought I would. So the point of the matter is, I think I'm getting closer. And so interesting because I asked the dolphins about it and they said, okay, we're gonna figure out an easy way to tell you this. They never say things like that. They're so clear. So I will get back to you with whatever. For now, you need to know that every single thing, it doesn't matter how wonderful the person who did it, it doesn't matter how well intended they were, every single thing that has to do with AI has a connection to off-planet evil. And it will turn on you whenever it is appropriate according to the plans of these off-planet races. Now, if you're still struggling with aliens, this is not the right place for you to be. I'm not even going to say get in the back of the line. This is not the right place for you. You're in pre-kindergarten, and you're going to get so shaken up by the stuff that's going to happen in the next several months, and I'm not going to be able to help you because honestly, you should have widened your lens way before now. It's not fair what people have done to the government in this country, not other countries. In this country, the whole issue with aliens, everybody, like they were little kids. The government is hiding it. The government's hiding the aliens. They still do it today. The government is hiding it. Oh yeah, the government knows a little bit. What are you doing? Why are you waiting for the government? You know that there's aliens. You know the spaceships exist. You know the rest of the planet believes in it. So why are you yelling and screaming about the government? Why don't you do something about it? I can't do anything about it. Yeah, you can, because you know what? You're already dealing with it in your home and you just don't know it. The devil is alien, except there's new ones coming in. So we wanted, in this country at least, we wanted the government to take us by the hand and spoon feed us. And by the way, I know for a fact that at least 15 years ago, there was a decision made inside the government to educate Americans to the fact that aliens existed, and they started to put out people and they trekked them around us, all the talk shows, and it went in one ear and out the other. People wanted, I guess they wanted a memo, official from the government. You are now allowed to believe in aliens, even though we made you feel stupid until now. You are now allowed to believe in aliens. They didn't send out the memo, but they sent out stuff that was really clear. People that work for the government, and they're doing it today, and the public is still wrestling with it. Except I don't think I hear people saying the government needs to admit it. Now they want the government to admit they have bodies. Everybody knows that. Why are you wasting your time on that? Everybody knows that. I mean, I don't get it. You're afraid of the next question? You're afraid of the next answer? We try to make other people responsible for things, and somebody turned too many people in this country into babies. Okay? And they want to be spoon fed. Not going to be spoon fed. Point of the matter is, this little technique, matrix technique of disconnecting your liver from Orion, I believe may be part of what the Dolphins is going to give me having to do with AI. I'm actually going to press them on that tomorrow because it's a pretty important subject, because I purchase photographs all of the time for my social media. I don't know what I'm getting into. I think they don't know what they're getting into. The place I get the photographs, it says, oh, this is AI free, whatever. And then I'm looking at some stuff and I go, this is AI. You can't do this. Anyway, so did you buy my book yet? The book is called sex. We got to figure this out. But here's the trick. If you know of anybody who's confused about their sexuality, the book is not going to set them straight on their sexuality, but the book is going to make them feel a lot better about their process. I mean, it's going to be like a magic wand. It's not about gays. It's not about, there's nothing in there on trans. And it, but there's a lot in the book for people that have a lot of confusion in that area that is going to make them feel more settled. That's important because the suicide rate for people that struggle with their sexuality, I'm not talking about impotence and frigidity. I'm talking about, am I gay? Am I not gay? Are people going to accept me because I'm gay? Whatever. Their rate of suicide is unbelievable. They're very, very unhappy. Sex is so important. So, anyway, let me go ahead and put the name of the book. There is actually a game at the end of the book having to do with the relationship between your car and your sexuality. And when you read it, you go, and then within 3 minutes, you go, oh, my neighbor's car looks like that. And I know oh, wait a second. I had a boyfriend years ago. His first car was, can you believe this? Lavender. And they didn't even make lavender cars, like a mauve lavender. What the hell is that? He was very spiritual. His last car was white. I knew it was over. You should read the book. You will enjoy it. And if you know of anybody who is struggling with identifying their sexuality, you should get them the book because it's going to help them a lot. And basically, that's the reason why I do everything to reduce human anguish. By the way, the definition of a Buddha is somebody that wants to reduce human anguish. So if you spend your time trying to reduce human anguish, according to Buddhism, you're a Buddha. Okay, so we have finished. We will watch what's going on in El Salvador, and we will come back with more things having to do with teaching you about superpowers. But let's go ahead and do 5 minutes, and let's go back to the fear. There's an issue going on, something in Congress. They're going to take a week break or something. It's very interesting because right now, in the other dimensions, there is a mixing of the underworld, what's considered hell, and the dimension that we live in consciously. Our subconscious is no longer sub anything. We are going to be aware of everything. The spirit world is going to be revealed. And I have a couple of examples. My ex-husband is constantly, he's passed, constantly near me, giving me information. Constantly. There's a situation going on with the family, so I understand why, and it's fine. It's with wonderful energy. We divorced, but wonderful energy. Somebody taught me decades ago, some man that I liked a lot, this was decades ago, and he said to me, don't just treat me as a lover. I want you to love me also as your brother. And that really impacted me because he was right. If you look at the people that have something of a friendship with their mates, if they ever separate, it does not get so ugly because that friendship is still there. That feeling of brother, sister has nothing to do with sex. That man said changed me. So get the book. I think if you don't enjoy it, the last chapter, I'd be surprised. And if you don't know of several people that you think the book might help, and again, it's There's the only focused intention in the book was to put together stuff that I have that we need to figure out. But it's not stuff that I came up with. Stuff from the Bible that matches what the dolphin said, that matches the dictionary. Get it? Okay. So, even though I'm afraid, I love and accept myself. But first, go to the back of your liver and cut that matrix implant. And if you don't have the time between now and when I get the music, continue to do it as you are doing the mantra. Let's do anger because we're working on the liver. This is the mantra. So remember, you're outside of your physical body. Your spirit is outside of your physical body. You're on the side. You see the matrix implant. You wrap something around a piece of it that's not right next to the body. You leave a little space. You look up, St. Michael will promptly come in, cut, take away that piece, and then others from the spiritual SWAT team will come in and start to unscrew and pull out. It's like a receptacle that's put in us. Anyway, do it. And I'll get the music. Just 5 minutes. Liver solar plexus. So let's do this one. Okay. How do you feel? Do the cutting of the matrix every day. It's very simple. Takes a couple of minutes. Teach other people to do it. And you'll be training yourself to be able to see in the other dimensions. I have a physical body issue and I can't get to an acupuncturist because I can't leave the house. Okay. So I was, how do I figure this out? And I went, you know what? Let me just go ahead and go inside my body, remote view. I've done that before, but this, I have a particular focus that I have. And I was able to see where the bad energy was coming from, which basically had to do with hatred of men. Oh, why would that be? Sex abuse, sex trafficking victim. And I was like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that, of course, I would have problems that would be related to that. But it was a surprise to me. So, if you do this that I'm encouraging you to do, you're going to be well on your way to be able to do these incredible self healings, stuff that we couldn't do on the planet before. Or, yes, we could in the times, the mythological times that were real. There were superpowers and people did stuff, but stuff that you're going to be able to do for yourself and for other people. It's kind of fun. Okay? We'll see you again.